Good morning and happy Friday. I'm Stephen Romo in for Joe and Savannah today. And we begin with the post-Christmas travel rush. It is now in full swing as millions of Americans start making their way back home after the holiday. Severe weather across the country, though, has made the journey miserable across large parts of the South and Pacific Northwest. We're now learning that these problems could last into the new year with more severe weather ahead. And wet weather could even affect the famous New Year's Eve ball drop in New York City. NBC News correspondent Sam Brock is in Times Square with more on that. Sam, good morning.
Stephen, good morning. And that's right. The biggest travel year on record is not over yet. This holiday stretch really encompasses about a 3-week window that goes all the way into the beginning of the year. And there is just no doubt with all the folks traveling around right now that New York City and Times Square is going to be certainly on many people's agenda. Will the weather be weighing us down, though, is the question, especially for a tradition here that dates back into the early 1900s with the ball dropping. Let's walk you through what we're seeing across the country right now, really starting to the south, because that's where we saw a lot of activity overnight. There were 8 confirmed tornadoes, 5 in Texas, 3 in Louisiana. The severe threat there, Stephen, still remains this morning. As far as Texas is concerned, of those 5, one of them coming as close as 30 miles outside of Houston. In Louisiana, there was also a tornado signature just outside of Alexandria. That's not too far, just north of Baton Rouge. So a lot of activity there on the West Coast as well. The driving force right now in the Pacific Northwest and Northern California continues to be the rain and the snow as well. We're seeing somewhere in the range of 3 to 18 inches of snow in the Sierra Nevada and the Cascades, up to 3 feet over the Rockies. So tons of snow going on to our west. Rain here that could be making its way into the Northeast, and that gets us to where we are next week, because the expectation, we saw our first white Christmas in New York City in 15 years this year. It's not expected to be that cold, certainly not in Times Square and in New York City for New Year's Eve, but it will potentially be raining and in the 40s. I'm sure a lot of folks who are going to be out here waiting for hours to see the ball drop would gladly take that. That's the latest here from the city. Sam Brock, NBC News. Stephen, back to you.
Sam, thanks. I know that rain's not going to turn people away from Times Square. But for more on how Mother Nature could impact those travel plans or your weekend plans, let's get a check of that morning news now. Weather meteorologist Denise Isaac joining us now. Good morning, Denise.
Good morning, Stephen. And let's add to that list a dense fog advisory in place right now from the upper Midwest down towards the southern plains, where we have visibilities reduced down to half a mile in places like Dallas, a quarter of a mile in Oklahoma. So that's really adding issues to those planning on traveling today. So this morning, we're seeing the line of showers and storms that impacted Houston and Louisiana yesterday move east. So today, the issue will be across Alabama, Mississippi, and the panhandle of Florida, places like Pensacola, Mobile, where we could be dealing with a brief tornado possible, winds, very strong winds gusting to 60 miles per hour, and the possibility for some large hail. So once the fog pretty much dissipates in the upper Midwest, we'll be at least leading with some widespread showers anywhere between Wisconsin all the way down into the Ohio and Tennessee River Valley. Clouds will increase in the Northeast, and then overnight tonight, that rain will be transitioning to some freezing rain and freezing drizzle. So winter alerts are in place for the Northeast. While in the West, the rain and snow, as well as wind, continue. At least in Texas, it is sunny. On Saturday, the West is staying active. The Pacific Northwest continuing to get more and more rain, while a severe weather outbreak is possible across Louisiana. Also places like Alabama, Mississippi, and Florida on Saturday, where tornadoes are possible, more than 2, with strong winds, and also hail and showers will linger towards the mid-Atlantic. On Sunday, travel issues continue for those in the Pacific Northwest, with another storm system coming in with even more rain from Oregon down towards California, snow across the Rockies, the Cascades, and heavy rain is expected around the eastern seaboard. In the middle of the country, though, looks great, very mild for December. As far as rainfall amounts from now through Sunday for the east, we're looking at 1 to 3 inches possible around the Ohio River Valley, and sadly around Asheville, we could be picking up close to 3 inches of rain. So that's bad news for those still picking up from all the rubble from the hurricane 2 months ago. And places like the Northeast will continue to deal with that rain on Monday. Record highs, though, are possible Monday afternoon across places like Texas and also Louisiana, while snow showers will continue to pound the Rockies. And then by next Tuesday, we're tracking a new storm impacting the Ohio River Valley, much cooler behind the front. And then by the 31st, New Year's Eve, look at this, midnight showers. Yep, it's just in time for the ball drop. And clear and cool, and temperatures really plummet. So by New Year's Day, 2025, different note than when we're ending it right now. It will be cold with temperatures closer to average for this time of year, pretty much for the entire country. Stephen, back to you.
A lot going on. That rain not going to deter people from going to Times Square. I know they'll pile in anyway. Denise, thanks so much.
Yeah.
Well, turning now to the growing questions over what caused the deadly crash of that passenger jet in Kazakhstan this week. At least 38 of the 67 on board that flight were killed Wednesday in the fiery crash as the plane was attempting to make an emergency landing. But now Russia is warning against rushing to judgment after speculation that the passenger jet was shot down by Russia's air defense systems. Here's NBC's Chris Pallone with the latest.
In Azerbaijan, a national day of mourning Thursday after 38 people died when an Azerbaijan Airlines flight crashed in Kazakhstan. The Christmas Day crash caught on video. 67 people were aboard. The Kazakh Health Ministry said 29 survived, including children. Video shows a stunned survivor staggering from the wreckage, while video from inside the plane shows people were calm moments before the crash. The flight was headed to the Chechen capital of Grozny in southern Russia. Russian officials say it was diverted because of fog. Russia's aviation authority blamed the crash on a bird strike, but enhanced video shows what experts say appears to be damage from shrapnel.
If there was a bird strike, the presence of shrapnel inside the aircraft wouldn't be a factor, and the damage to the exterior of the aircraft would appear much different. The flight was likely shot down by a Russian air defense system of unspecified type and variant.
The Kremlin responding that it would be incorrect to make any hypotheses before the investigation comes to conclusions. The flight was supposed to land in an area with heavy military activity. On the same day, a Ukrainian drone was shot down 70 miles away, causing a fire at a shopping mall. A U.S. official told NBC News there are early indications the plane might have been hit by a Russian anti-aircraft system, adding, if true, it's more evidence of Russian recklessness in the war with Ukraine. The investigation is already underway in Kazakhstan. Today, representatives from the company that built the aircraft have arrived on scene. In Washington, Chris Pallone, NBC News.
Chris, thanks so much. Well, back here in the U.S., we're learning more about an incident on an airplane, another stowaway. Delta was forced to turn around one of its planes on a Seattle runway Christmas Eve after finding a passenger managed to get on board with no ticket. NBC News correspondent Morgan Chesky has more.
At Seattle's SeaTac Airport, federal investigators poring over security protocol after someone snuck on a Delta flight bound for Hawaii without a boarding pass. Port of Seattle police dispatching officers to a gate on Christmas Eve after the Delta flight crew discovered an unidentified passenger turning the plane around just before takeoff. Delta stating their staff followed procedures to have an unticketed passenger removed from the flight and then apprehended. TSA confirming the individual did go through standard screening and did not possess any prohibited items, but then bypassed the identity verification and boarding status stations, somehow getting on the plane without a boarding pass. The incident happened on the same day that crews in Maui found a body inside the wheel well of a United flight that had traveled from Chicago. And over Thanksgiving, authorities say Svetlana Dali now faces federal charges after sneaking past security checkpoints at JFK to board a Delta flight to Paris with no passport or ticket.
That's concerning.
Former TSA Safety Director Keith Jeffries tells NBC News no security system is perfect.
Do these incidents as a whole raise new security questions?
First of all, I will tell you that anytime someone passes the ticket document checker location without being properly checked, that's a concern for TSA. It's happened way too many times in a short period of time.
Our thanks to Morgan Chesky for that report. The TSA is promising an independent review. They've also opened a civil investigation into that, which is standard procedure when there's a violation of their policies. Well, we are now 24 days until Inauguration Day and learning new details about the incoming Trump administration's plans to go after undocumented immigrants. Tom Homan, chosen by President-elect Trump to be his new border czar, suggests that a showdown might be coming between federal and local authorities over these deportations. NBC News correspondent Sam Brock spoke with a one-on-one interview with that incoming czar.
The impending clash between the incoming administration and sanctuary cities looks closer to combustion after San Diego's Board of Supervisors approved a measure requiring the feds obtain a judicial warrant for undocumented migrants already in their jails.
Bottom line is I'm shocked at what San Diego did. And bottom line, we're still coming to San Diego and we do our job. Look, it's more difficult, but we're still doing it.
Thomas Homan is President-elect Trump's border czar and the former director of ICE. You see San Diego's recent actions as having no legal muster, and you're just going to move right through that?
I think San Diego's legal action is going to will be in litigation.
It's the latest salvo in a showdown over immigration policy that also affects cities like San Francisco, Chicago, and New York.
It's unfathomable to hear that the incoming administration wants to devastate over 28 million American families in this country who live in mixed status households.
Murat Awauda is president of the New York Immigration Coalition. He's also concerned that Trump's controversial family detention policy may be back on the table.
You need to understand it's not in we say detention, but it's not in a jail setting. This is actually an open air campus family type facility that is open air, right? So we're not talking about razor wire and a penal institution, things like that. They have child care, they have education programs.
There is no such thing as a soft detention site. There's no humane way of detaining children in prisons, because that's what it ends up becoming, even if it's a tent structure.
President-elect Trump has promised deportation on a mass scale starting as soon as he steps into office, as concerns over family separations remain high.
Do you worry, though, that you will actually be separating children from their parents and punishing children for the actions of their parents?
Our plan, we have no plan to separate children from parents. The parents will have to make a decision. That's parenting 101. I'm going to say it again. If you choose to have a child here in the United States while you know you're here illegally and you know you're on a court order to deport, that's on you.
A 2023 consent decree between the Biden Department of Justice and the ACLU banned family separations for 8 years.
Do you believe the decree needs to be reexamined?
I think, yeah, we need to re-examine that, see if it makes sense from a national security perspective.
Thanks for watching. Stay updated about breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or follow us on social media.